Stamanamapi Ishachipuhatram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagraja Muripurim Mathurim Goshtuatim Radha Kundamagirivaram Radhika Madhuvasam Prapto Yas Praptita Kripaya Sri Guru Tamnatusmi Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikai Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Nama Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadibhyat-chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Sham Sundar Shikanda Shikar Smaha Smurali Manohara Radhika Rasika Mama Kripanidhi Supriyacharna Kinkurim Kuru Tavaivasmi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvayabana Ti Vikyaya Devi Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. First of all, I offer my Sastang Dandavat Puspanjali, my heart like flowers thousands and thousands of times, at the lotus feet of my holy master, my supremely worshipable spiritual Gurudev, Asmadhiya Paramaradhatama Guru Pada Padma, Nityalila Parvishta Om Vishnupad, Ashtotarasata Sisimad, Rupanuga Acharya Varya, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvami Maharaja. Secondly, I offer my pranam thousands of times at the lotus feet of my Param Gurudev, to Srila Prabhupada, to Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, and all of our Sri Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Parampara. And finally, I offer my pranam to Ananyatidandipad and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Vancha Kalpaturvasya Kripa Sindhu Vyavacha Putitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah. So today, we are all blessed to have this opportunity to remember and glorify the lotus feet of our Srila Gurudev. Jayo Jayo Sri Guru Prema Kapataru Adbhutayanko Parakash. One Vaishnava poet is saying, "All glories to Sri Guru, because Sri Guru is Prema Kalpataru." Just as there's a kalpataru, a desire tree, and if someone will go to that desire tree, they can, whatever they desire, then the tree will make it come true. So Sri Guru, our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, is Prema Kalpataru. His wish-fulfilling tree that especially is fulfilling this one wish. How can I attain pure love, transcendental prem, the Nitya Seva of Radha and Krishna? Adbhuta Yanko Parakash. How astonishing is the effulgence of transcendental illumination emanating from his lotus feet. So today is the Tirobhava Tithi, disappearance day. But in Vaishnava Tantra he said, "Na karma janmanam bandha Vaishnavanam na vidyate." Vaishnavas, they have no birth, they have no death, they have no karma or bondage in this world. They are fully transcendental. So there's no question of birth or death of the Vaishnava. There is only the question of prakat, that at some point he's manifest to our senses and the people of the world can see him. And at other times, then Gurudev becomes aprakat. He's not physically visible to the general persons, but he's aprakat. he's still there in an unmanifest form. So Srila Gurudev, he often used to quote the verse of Srimana Shiksha, Yadichet avasam brajabhuvi ragam pratijanu yuvadandam tachat paricharitum ara davilase swarupam sri rupam saganam niyartasya grajamapi sputam premna nityasmaranam atadatam shinumana. Oh, my dear mind, please listen very carefully. If you want to attain the paricharya seva, that means bathing, dressing, decorating, massaging, fanning, feeding, all these types of very personal, intimate service to Radha and Krishna in the Nikunjas of Vrindavan, then you must do this one thing. And you must do it in this life and your next life, and be ready to do it life after life. What is that? With great love, bow down and call out loudly, O Swarup Damodar, O Roy Ramananda, O Rupa Goswami, O Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, O Vishnu Thakur, O Bhaktivinoda Thakur, O Prabhupada Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, O Gurudev Srila Narayana Maharaj. Call out like this. And these personalities being transcendently present, when a person is very needy, really in need, and when a person is very, very thirsty and full of greed, and when a person is hankering to know something more, to go more deeply and to approach that spiritual realm, then these personalities, they are always present, and they will come and they will approach that needy person and give them inspiration, either in the heart or through another Vaishnava, they will speak to him. So the Viraha Mahotsav, separation festival, is a festival of separation, but also it's a festival of meeting, because by hearing the glories of the Vaishnavas, then they become present. So when we become acquainted with something or anything, then the first thing we become acquainted with is the name, then its form, qualities and pastimes. This is especially true in regard to Sri Krishna. And this is true also in regard to our Gurudev. Srila Gurudev, his parents gave him the name Narayan. And then when he was initiated, his Gurudev gave him the name Gaura Narayan. And then when he received sannyas, then his name again was Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami. So someone may think, oh, what is this name? It has so much Aishwarya, so much opulence in it, because the word Nara means the water that emanates from the body of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And because he lies down, ayana, he takes shelter, he lies down on the Nara, so that Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, his name is also Narayana. So this name is full of opulence. How can it be possible that Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshmaj, can give such a name which only refers to opulence to our Gurudev? So we should know that there's a very deep and beautiful meaning in Gurudev's name, Narayan. And that is, actually, you know that Srila Jiva Goswami, he wrote a book explaining Sanskrit grammar called Sri Harinamamrita Vyakaranam. And in that Vyakaranam, that means the grammar of the Amrita, the nectar of Krishna's names. So in the very first sutra, the very first name that he's presented in the book of the grammar of the nectar of the name is Narayan. Narayana Dudbhutayam Vanakramaha, in the first sutra. So in the Amrita Ashwadini Tika, the commentary that allows one to relish the nectar of the names in this, there is described the very rasic meaning of Narayan. There it is said, the word Nara means human. You know, we speak about Krishna's human-like pastimes, Naravatlila. So Nara means human. And the group of humans is called Nara, with a long A. Nara. That is a group of humans. Now, among all the various associates of the Supreme Lord in his different incarnations, only the residents of Vrindavan are completely like humans. If you go to Vaikuntha, you can see the associates of the various incarnations there. They have 4 arms, or like Garuda is a talking bird and so on. So they don't have very human-like forms. But in Vrindavan, all the associates are completely human-like. So the Brijabasis are called Nara. So Ayana means one who takes shelter. That form of the Supreme Lord, who, though himself, he's the shelter of all existence, but he himself takes shelter of the residents of Vrindavan, that is Brajendra Nandan Shyamasundar, Krishna of Vrindavan. So his name is Narayana, who is taking shelter of the Brijbasis. As Krishna said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tasman mat sharnam gostam man natam mat parigraham gope swapayogena soyam te brata ahita. Krishna said, Tasmat mat sharnam gostam. These cowherd people, these residents of Vrindavan, mat sharanam, they are my shelter. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Sarvadharman prityaja mamekam sharanam braja, take shelter of me. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says, Tasman mat sharanam gostam. Oh, these cowherd people, they are my shelter. Man natam, they are my protectors at all times. Mat parigraham, they are my family members. So Krishna of Vrindavan is controlled by Prem, he's controlled by love, and he's completely helpless. Krishna in Vrindavan, he cannot take a bath, he cannot eat, he cannot drink, he cannot dress himself, he cannot sleep or experience any happiness whatsoever without the Brijbasis, without Nanda and Yashoda, without Madhumangal Subha, Sridham, without Braja Gopis, and especially without Srimati Radhika. So Krishna has admitted in the Gopi Premamrita, Sahaya Gurava Sisya Bhujisya Bandhava Striya Satyam Vadami Te Patya Gopya Kim Me Bhavantina. Hey Partha, hey Arjun, I must say to you that the Gopis, they are my helpers, my assistants. They are my gurus. The Gopis of Vrindavan are my gurus. They're also my disciples. They're also my maidservants. They're also my friends. They're also my consorts. Satyam vadami te partha. Hey Arjuna, I'm telling you the truth. Gopya kim me bhavantina. I don't know what they are not to me. In other words, for me, the Gopis are everything. And among them, Radhika is supreme. So that helpless Krishna, who cannot do anything without Radhika, his name is Narayan. And this is why the Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he gave this very beautiful name to Gurudev. And when Krishna takes full shelter of Radhika's bhav, then he becomes Gaur Narayan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Gurudev, he used to speak very often, and actually it was his main theme, the necessity of Guru Nishtha, having complete loyalty to Sri Guru. Because if one will only study, if one will only try to learn in a material way like a student in a college, then he collects facts. He collects some pieces of knowledge here and there that he can put together and make some structure in his mind. But this is not divine realization. Shuddha prema sukha sindhu pahitaro eka bindu se bindu jagata Dubai sehi bindu jagata Dubai kahi bare jog janai Thatapi bahul kai kohileva kibo pati jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said that the happiness of Prem, it is like a vast ocean. And it is so powerful that if a person will get just one drop of that ocean of happiness, then the entire universe can drown in that drop. In fact, the nature of this Prem is such that it should not be kahi bahi jogya nahi. One should not speak about it. But anyway, if a person is bola, that tatapi bahulan, okay, if someone is mad, they've become mad with Krishna Prem, even though they should not speak about it, but still they speak about it. And then when they speak, then those who are listening, many, they cannot understand, they cannot even believe, what is this mad person talking about? So there's a vast difference between just words in books and the actual experience of just one drop of the vast ocean of Prem. So that transcendental truth is only revealed to one who has Guru Nishta, complete loyalty, complete dedication to the lotus feet of the spiritual master, which is unbreakable and unconditional. It's very interesting, this difference between truth and facts. You know, some facts are relatively true, and they may be true for some time before their foundation disappears, as everything disappears in this world. But the actual English word truth comes from the old English word troth, or to betroth. Just like when someone gets married, then in the old days, then the father would offer his daughter to a man, and she was betrothed to him in marriage. So to be betrothed is actually to make a vow of faithfulness. So the English word truth comes from troth or betroth, and its root is to be faithful, to be dedicated, to be one-pointed. So the English word truth or troth comes originally from the Sanskrit. Thru comes from daru or taru. Daru means wood and taru means tree, because a tree is such a thing that never moves. So in the same way, when we say, "Oh Gurudev, I am yours," at the time of Diksha, Diksha Kali Bhakta Kari Atma Samarpan. At the time of Diksha, the disciple, he gives his heart fully to his Gurudev. And then this vow is like a daru, like wood, or taru, like a tree. It is taru, tree, true, taru. Why? Because just as a tree never moves, then this vow, this promise to give oneself to Krishna through his transparent via medium, his representative, Sri Guru, is never ever moving. So truth means to make a promise. On the one side, Krishna has made a promise. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogaksema vahamyaham. Krishna made the promise that if someone is always thinking of me, if someone is always serving me, then whatever he needs, I bring it myself, and whatever is lacking, I protect them. Sakrideva prapanna yas tavasmiti cha yataye abhyam sarvai tasmai dadamyetam bratam mama. Lord Ram also made the same promise. If someone says only once, "Oh my Lord, tavasmi, I am yours," then I make that person fearless, and whatever is necessary in their life, I take care of it. So Srila Gurudev, he used to say this. He used to say, you can make an experiment. Don't do anything. Just take your japamala and chant 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs like Haridas Thakur all day, and don't do anything else. And you'll see how you don't need to do anything else, because Krishna, he will take care of everything so that you can progress in your spiritual life, and you'll never be lacking in anything. Gurudev used to say, yes, I am the proof of this. So as Krishna has made a promise, which is true, which is truth, which cannot move like a taru or dharu, as Krishna betroths himself to the service of his own devotee, so Guru also makes the same promise. Srila Gurudev used to quote the words of Nityananda Prabhu. Yataistam re brata kuru harihani dwana manisham tatosaram salsaram buddhi tranamayo dailagati damba huspatam atati ratianya pratigraham vajanityanandam vajatru kandam nirabadi. Oh, Nityananda Prabhu used to announce to all the people, crowds and crowds of people, Yataistam re brata, oh brothers, enough suffering in this material world. Enough with the endless chain of birth and death. Enough with illusion. I am taking a vow, I'm making a promise. If you chant the holy name just once, with faith, or even without faith, just chant Krishna's name, then I'm making a promise to deliver you from the ocean of material existence. And Nityananda Prabhu dropped that water on the ground to make a sankalpa. So Gurudev used to say, oh, as the representative of Nityananda Prabhu, I am also making a sankalpa. If you'll chant this holy name, this mantra I'm giving to you, and follow my instructions, I promise to deliver you from this endless ocean of material existence. So this is truth, relative truth, just mundane facts, which are trivial and which are relative and which are true today and disappear tomorrow. This is not truth, but truth is to betroth. The promise. Krishna and Guru make a promise to us, and we make a promise to them to be their servants forever, and then one becomes situated in truth. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, say Bhakta Danya Nena Chari Prabhu Charan, say Prabhu Danya Nahi Chari Nija Jan. That servant who never gives up his Prabhu, his Lord, is very, very fortunate. And that Lord who never gives up his servant, they make a promise both ways. That master is also very, very fortunate. So Yasya Devi Prabhakti Yata Devi Tatagro Tasyaiti Katita Yata Prakashante Mahatmana. For one who has such love and service and surrender to his Guru, as he has for the Supreme Lord, he has same to Guru, then all the mysteries, all the profound meanings of the Vedas, they become manifested automatically in his heart. So, little introduction. Now the subject today is Srila Gurudev's books. Srila Gurudev has given so many beautiful books. And what is most astonishing is the scope of his contribution. Sometimes we see that Vaishnavas, they are very focused on the Darshanik Shastra, on philosophical points. And others, they're focused more on rasa. But Srila Gurudev gave a vast array of scriptures to us from the most darshanik, very deep philosophical scriptures, and all the way up to the very highest rasa. Srila Gurudev used to say this in regard to the glorification of his own Guru. He used to say, oh, my Guru was a very rare person, because on the one hand, he was a darshanik, extremely philosophical and logical. And on the other hand, he was also very bhavuk and rasik, relishing the divine mellows, which are totally beyond reason and beyond the philosophical approach. So when I saw this topic of Srila Gurudev's books, I thought perhaps I could bring up a few topics, especially from the books of Srila Gurudev, which have not yet been translated, even though Srila Gurudev became unmanifest from this world 10 years ago. But still, there are many books, and there's a large portion of his contribution which has not yet been made available to the whole world, because they're still in the original languages, the Sanskrit and in Hindi. So, for example, in regard to Gurudev's darshanik philosophical books, Gurudev has given one book called Chatusloki Bhagavatam, and there he's given the 4 seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, and with 12 commentaries, with the commentaries of Madhvacharya, Vidwaijaj Tirtha, Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj, Srinivas Acharya, Vishnacharya Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and we can say 13 commentaries if we include some of Gurudev's own notes on that subject as well. Srila Gurudev also gave another very beautiful book that has not yet been translated. It is called Chara Acharya Evam Sri Gaudiya Darshan. And in this book, Srila Gurudev gives very elaborate description of all the philosophies of the Acharyas of the 4 Vaishnavas. That's one part of the book. And the second part of the book is really a book in itself. It's called Sri Gaudiya Darshan. And this was presented by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. And he goes through in the most profound way that only a great Uttam Bhagavat Mahapurush Paramahamsa can express the very essence of Gaudiya Darshan, the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So I'll just give a brief insight to the beginning of that presentation. The presentation begins with a philosophical problem which has bothered philosophers for thousands of years, and in modern philosophy it's called the symbol grounding problem. That is, if there's a symbol and a symbol has a meaning, what is the power that connects the meaning of a symbol with the symbol itself? And in its most rudimentary form, the symbols that we use all the time are the phonemes. Phonemes means the smallest bits of sound. So when we speak, we're speaking to each other and we're using the phonemes, a, I, u, u, or which we would say called the vowels and the consonants of the alphabet. And these sounds we use and we put them together to make words. And these words come out from our mouth, and somehow or other, someone else hears it and he understands the intention of that speaker, at least roughly. He has a rough idea of the intention of the speaker. So here in this book, Sri Gaudiya Darshan, this philosophical question is raised. How is it possible that sounds can convey meaning? What's the relationship between words and meaning? And so there's elaborate description. First, the philosophy of the grammarians, such as Bhartrihari and Patanjali also, who has written the main commentary, the Mahabhasya, on the Panini's Sanskrit Vyakaranam sutras of grammar. So the school of philosophers of the grammar school, they say that the meaning of words becomes revealed to us by something called spot. And the reason is this: because when we speak a word, then the word has so many syllables in it. If you say Narayana, there are 4 syllables there. So the meaning can either be realized by those syllables individually, na, rai, ya, na, or it could be understood by the combination of the 4 syllables. So if we just take the individual syllables, then we say, no, we don't understand what it means by the power of 1 syllable, because if someone just said na, then we would know what they mean. But maybe they're saying nadi, maybe they're saying the word for river, maybe they're saying Narayan, maybe they want to say something else. We don't know. So 1 syllable has no power to reveal a meaning. And if you put the syllables together, then Patanjali and Bhartrihari, they're saying also this is also impossible. The syllables together, they cannot also convey meaning. Why? Because we never experience the syllables together. When a person is speaking, the syllables come out of the mouth one at a time. So first you hear na, and then that disappears. And then you hear ra, and that disappears. Ya, na, like this. So every syllable you hear separately. So you never actually hear all the syllables at the same time. So the meaning cannot come from 1 syllable at a time, and it cannot come from the aggregate of the syllables, because no one ever hears anything. This is a very phenomenological analysis of sound. So then they say, so there must be something else which imparts the meaning. And we call this spot. This spot is Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound. And when a person begins to speak, then their syllables reveal the spot, and then the spot reveals the meaning to them. Then in another school, the school of Kumaril Bhatta, they say, no. We don't believe in the spot at all. What we think is this, that when a person speaks a syllable, it makes a samskar, impression, in the memory. And then when the next syllable comes, it makes another impression. And when all the syllables have come, then the person joins together all the samskaras, the impressions of the syllables in his consciousness. And then he matches them with a memory of when those syllables were used before in connection with an object. And in this way, by matching the memory of the previous impressions with the present impressions, he understands what the word means. So in this book, Srila Gurudev presents that actually the first philosophy of Spodvad, this is quite wrong. Because there is something called Kalpana Gaurav Dosh. That means the overcumbrousness of the argument. First, you posit that you're positing that the syllables reveal something which is called spot, and then this spot reveals meaning. But we have no experience of this thing called spot, and something which is not experienced or perceived could never reveal something else. Just like if you're in a dark room and there's a table there, a light can reveal the presence of the table. But if you cannot see light, then that light won't reveal the table to you. So in this way, actually, Jiva Goswami himself, in his Sarva Samvadini, he rejects this Potvad. But at the same time, the question comes, if you take the Varnavad, that in your consciousness, the samskar, impressions of the syllables are all put together, and then it's connected with a memory in your subconscious mind. The question comes, well, how do you find that memory? Because you have millions of memories. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivisto mataksmriti jnanam apornam cha. I am situated in the heart as Paramatma, and it is by my power that memory is functioning. When you hear a sound, then I am in the heart, and then I illuminate that impression among millions of impressions by which you compare to the sound that you're hearing now, and so you get the jnana. So mataksmriti jnanam apornam cha. Krishna said, as the Paramatma in the heart, I do the function of memory by matching the sanskars, and I am therefore giving you the jnana. And sometimes, in accordance with your karma, I take this power away. Apornam cha, I give forgetfulness. Sometimes you may want to say something or speak something, but you don't remember the word that you need. So why is that? So the Paramatma is not facilitating the memory, but rather he's facilitating the forgetfulness. So in this way, there's a very fine analysis of how understanding is completely dependent on Paramatma in the heart. But even this understanding that Paramatma gives in general everyday sense is will not give one an understanding of the truth. The teaching of Vedanta is Vyapadesho bhaktas tadbhava bhavitvat. The actual meaning of all words is Krishna. That's the meaning of all words. But when our ear is covered by Prakriti, the material energy, then we have what is called bheda-abheda-tattva. Bheda-abheda-tattva means the one meaning, the unitary meaning of all sound, which refers to Krishna, is shattered into millions of different meanings in the world of duality, and we become confused. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that though the external sport of the grammarians, like Bhartrihari, has been rejected by Jiva Goswami, but in Srimad Bhagavatam, there it says, Srinoti ya idam spotam, in the 12th canto, how transcendental knowledge comes to this world, that is also described as sport. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the meaning is this, that at the time of Diksha, then Sri Guru is speaking transcendental sound in the form of mantra, and it makes something called Karna Bhed Sanskar. When a child is growing up, then at a certain age, when the child gets to a certain age, then they get their ears pierced. And this is called the piercing of the ear ceremony, or Karna Bhed Sanskar. So this Karna Bhed Sanskar is actually a metaphor for the actual Karna Bhed Sanskar of the Jiva when Sri Guru gives Diksha, real Diksha. Then the Aprakrita Shabda Brahma, transcendental sound, pierces through the material covering of the disciple's ear. And when that Karna Bhed Sanskar takes place, there's a piercing of the material covering of the ear, then the spot, the actual transcendental spot means a spurt, a spurti, or a bursting. There's a bursting of the sound, transcendental sound, Shabda Brahma, in the ear of the disciple, which reveals to him not the millions of meanings of the world of duality, but only one meaning. And that one meaning is Krishna. And now everything the disciple hears is speaking only about Krishna. All words mean Krishna. And when he hears the Shastra or when he reads the Shastra, the inner meaning is only Krishna and his form, qualities, associates, and pastimes. And so this experience of the Karna Bhed Sanskar happened to Nimai Pandit. When Nimai Pandit went to Gaya and he met with Srila Ishwarapuri, and Srila Ishwarapuri gave him Diksha, then after that he became mad. And when he returned to Navadvip and he went to the school where he was supposed to teach grammar, and the boys were asking him questions. What is the meaning of dhatu, verbal root? What is the meaning of dharma, and so on? Then he was explaining that every word only means Krishna, because his Karna Bhed Sanskar had taken place. His ear was pierced and there was this pot. The Shabda Brahma appeared there, which revealed Krishna as the meaning of all words. So this is like, you can take your pulse. If when you are hearing sound, you hear many, many meanings, then actual Diksha, that is Vidvat Rudi Diksha, has not taken place yet. But when the sounds come and everything is describing Sri Krishna, then one is actually really initiated. So I gave it just a very brief touch. The subject is quite long and elaborate, but I wanted to just give a small insight into some of the Siddhantas that Srila Gurudev has given in his books from the Darshanik side, from the side of philosophy. And now to complete my glorification, few words of offering of Srila Gurudev today, I want to touch on how Gurudev has given at the other end of the spectrum so much profound rasa. So Srila Gurudev gave many books on the rasa, such as Venu Geet, Gopi Geet, Rasa Panchadhyay, the very high-level confidential Gita Govinda of Jayadev Goswami, and also the Kavya, the poetry of Rasa Upasana, how to serve Radha Krishna 24 hours in the day in the form of his books, such as his translations and commentaries on Rupa Goswami's Utkalika Valari and Srila Vishwanath Thakur's Sankalpa Kalpadruma. And also Srila Gurudev has given Ujjwala Nilamani as well. So some of these books are yet to come in the English language. So one very interesting thing Srila Gurudev said is that the verses of the Geets of Srimad Bhagavatam, such as Venu Geet, you cannot understand them without the Kavya of Ras Upasana, the poetry of the Nitya Seva, which is given by the Goswamis, like Utkalika Valari and Vilap Kusumanjali. Without those poems, one cannot understand the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, the inner meaning, like Venu Geet and Gopi Geet. And at the same time, without the verses of Gopi Geet and the verses of Venu Geet, one cannot understand those verses of the Rasa Kavya. So Srila Gurudev said these two aspects, they are actually interdependent with each other. So Srila Gurudev was very careful and very complete and comprehensive in his presentation, that he used to go very deeply into the verses of Venu Geet and Bhakti Rasayana of Sanatan Goswami and so on, which is full of verses of Venu Geet, Pranay Geet, Gopi Geet and other Geets. And at the same time, at other occasions, then he used to go into the Kavya of Rasa Upasana and bring out their interdependence. Because often we see that devotees, they study or become fixated on one or the other, and one actually cannot get a full picture. So we can give an illustration. In Venu Geet, there Shrimati Radharani herself says, Nadyastada tadupadharya mukunda Gita, Avata lakshita mano bhava bhagna vega, Alinganasta gitam urmi bhuja marare, Grinanti pada yugalam kamalopahara. O Sakhi, when Mukunda plays upon his flute, then the sound of the flute is so charming that the flow of the river Jamuna becomes checked, and Jamuna becomes stunned in ecstasy. So when the river which is nearby becomes stunned and the rest of the river is still flowing, then it causes the appearance of whirlpools. It is as if the mind of Jamuna is spinning around. That means that she's seeing her own mood in the river, because Radharani has Udgurna, her mind is spinning. And she's seeing that effect of Prem in the Jamuna. And when Krishna enters into the water, then the waves of the water rise up like arms to embrace him. But if he doesn't reciprocate by embracing back, then the waves go back down again, and they break off the stems of the lotus flowers, and then the waves carry the lotus flowers and offer them at Krishna's lotus feet. So Radhika is speaking this verse, describing what she sees happening in the Jamuna river when Krishna plays his flute. And she's thinking, oh, this is the effect of Krishna's flute on the river. But if we go to the Rasa Kavya of the Goswamis, there we see that Srila Rupa Goswami Pad describing the Mahabhav, he said, Anuraga swasamvedya dasham prapa prakashita yavadashra britischet bhav ityabhidiyate. That the Mahabhav of the Gopis has this quality. It has three main qualities, but we're just touching on one. Yavadashra vritti. That means that the waves of love emanate from that gopi with Mahabhav, and they spread out and they pervade other things which are in the vicinity. If they're in the stage of Rudra Bhav, it will pervade those things which are close enough to see. But when Radhika is in the stage of Adiruddha Mahabhav, then those waves of her prem, they actually do Brahmanda Shobha Karita. That means they make a disturbance throughout the whole universe. So we have this situation where the verse of Venu Geet, where Radhika is saying, oh, just see how the Jamuna becomes disturbed by the sound of Krishna's flute. It is not what it seems to be. And if we go to the Rasa Kavya of Rupa Goswami, then we'll find out that actually, when Krishna plays upon his Venu, then that sound of Krishna's flute agitates the heart of Radhika, that her separation goes very high into Adiruddha Bhav and Mohan Bhav. And then in that state of Mahabhav, the effect of her prem spreads out and disturbs the whole universe. So the disturbance in the waves of the Jamuna that Radhika is saying is caused by Krishna's flute is not directly caused by Krishna's flute, but rather the sound of Krishna's flute is agitating her prem, and it's her prem which is disturbing the whole universe and causing the disturbance in the Jamuna, like this. So in this way, the verses of Venu Geet are there in Bhagavatam, and the Kavya of the Goswamis is there. But unless you put the two together, then one cannot relish it. And Srila Gurudev, he brings out this very beautiful, sweet point. In the poetry of Srila Vishnacharya Thakur, now we've shown how the Bhagavatam, the Venu Geet, cannot be understood without the Kavya of the Goswamis. Now the other way around. Srila Gurudev presented a very beautiful text with commentary that is Srila Vishwanath Thakur's Prem Samput, the love locket. So there, Radharani is describing the nature of Prem to Krishna, she doesn't know it's Krishna. Krishna's come in the disguise of a demigoddess. So she says there, Lampatyato navanavam vishayam prakuravam aswadayam ati maduduratam dadanaha aladayan amrita rashmi ivatrilokim santapayam pralaya surya ivavabhati. Radharani is saying that this anurag, this love between myself and Krishna has lampatata. Lampatata means greediness, very intense greed, like a debauchee, a lampat. It has lampatata. That means that this love is like an insatiable thirst. And this insatiable thirst means that when Radhika and Krishna meet together in a Nikunj, they're so thirsty to relish each other's sweetness that their thirst You know, if you are very thirsty, then when you taste something, it tastes more delicious. So their thirst causes them to taste each other's sweetness in the most intense way possible. And at the same time, that thirst, because it's unquenchable, makes them feel that as they're tasting each other's sweetness to the maximum level, they're also not tasting anything at the same time. And so there's an experience of the most deep and satisfying meeting, and at the same time, the utter pain and frustration of not meeting at all at the same time while they're meeting together. So Radharani said that this experience makes one become completely mad, completely intoxicated. And it is exactly like the moon. The moon spreads the Amrita throughout the whole universe, the Rasamrita, the nectar of Ras. It gives taste to everything. And at the same time, the sun, at the time of the annihilation of the universe, when it's time to annihilate the universe, the sun becomes very hot and burns everything. So Radhika said, this love is just like that. It's like all the nectar in the universe. No, all the universe is combined, along with the blazing heat of all the suns at the time of annihilation in all the universes at the same time. So, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Now, unless one has some glimpse, some experience, some spurti, we were speaking before about this sport. In ordinary words, the word and the meaning are two different things. But when the sport is present, there's absolutely no meaning. There's no difference, between the word and its meaning. So the word Krishna is experienced as the form of Krishna. So a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Nadyasta Data Rupadarya Mukunda Gita, actually is experienced as the sound of Krishna's flute. It's experienced as the disturbance in the river Jamuna. It's experienced as the disturbance which is actually coming from the heart of Radhika that was caused by Krishna's flute. So when the Karna Bhed Sanskar takes place and the ear is pierced, then just the sounds of these verses are actually the entire scene. The Naam, Roop, Gun, and Leela is all manifest. So in Vilap Kusumanjali, Srila Gurudev would often quote this verse. There, Raghunath Das Goswami is praying, Sri Rupa Manjari Karachita Pada Padma, Gostendra Nandana Bhujapita Mastakaya, Ha Modatakana Kagori Padaravinda, Samvahanani Shanakaistava Kim Karisye. Oh, when will that day come? When Radha Krishna have been playing, singing, dancing, playing on the swing, throwing colors, playing in the water, Rasa Lila, and Radhika has become tired. And so Krishna has sat down and Radhika has rested her head in the lap of Krishna. And Rupa Manjari has come and she's massaging Radhika's feet. Oh, when will Rupa Manjari, by her eyes, call me? Oh, you come and take over this seva and I'll take up the Chamradi fan and I'll fan the divine couple. So this verse, it is very common, is very well known among the devotee community. But when the Karna Bhed Sanskar takes place, when the material covering of the ear is pierced, and the sound of the verse becomes non-different from the actual spiritual pastime or content, then, though we may know, yes, Rupa Manjari is serving with the fan, and Rati Manjari is massaging her feet. But what becomes apparent is that Radhika herself is in the state of Mahabhav. And because of that, her Yavadashray Vritti, her prem is spread and is saturating throughout all the manjaris. And so those manjaris, as they are massaging and as they are fanning, they are experiencing the nectar of all the moons in all the universes, the rasamrita of everything combined. And at the same time, they're also experiencing the blazing pain of separation, which is more hot than millions of suns in all the universe at the time of the annihilation. So in this way, the Bhagavatam and the Rasakavya all comes together in that experience of the sport of transcendental sound. And therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, He said, Pida bin avakala kuta katata garvasya nirbasano nisyandena mudam sudamo narina hankara sankochana prema sundari nanda nandra parojagati yasyantare gyayante sputamakya vakskarmadraistainaiva vikrantaya. Only one who experienced this prem can know what it is like, because it is like taking a bath in nectar and at the same time drinking the fresh, deadly Kalkut Bish poison. So this is why it's so important to have Guru Nishta, because only reading, only hearing, without the piercing of the ear, without the Karna Bhed Sanskar of Shabda Brahma, it will not give the actual factuality, the truth of the Shastra. So, Yasya Devi Parabhakti Yatha Devi Tathagaro. Only those who, as they love and serve Krishna, they serve their Gurudev as much. In fact, better if one loves and serves Gurudev more than Krishna. Then the actual realization, which makes one become a madman, which no one can believe, which only one drop can cause the whole universe to drown in it, then that can manifest in the heart. So, Jai Jai Shri Guru, Prema Kalpataru. I offer my pranam at the lotus feet of Gurudev, who is the wish-fulfilling tree, who distributes Krishna Prem, Radha Dasyam throughout this world. Srila Gurudev ki jai.